Before we dive into mental game, can you introduce yourself and tell me a bit about your journey throughout the game of golf?
Absolutely. Darin Hovis here at Par 4 Fitness. I started playing golf when I was 9, so turned out to be kind of a pretty big part of my life. Played through high school, moved from Pennsylvania to Florida to go to college, got into the golf management program, and actually kind of switched majors over to physical therapy and athletic training. And I still wanted to work with golfers, so that's where I came across the Titleist Performance Institute. And that's really kind of been my background for the last 11, 12 years. So just kind of starting a business, helping players move better, feel better, try to maintain a really active lifestyle while playing golf, really at any age.
First question, what's a common mental barrier you see in golfers from high school to the pros?
I think it's just getting frustrated or having above and beyond expectations of kind of what they should be producing on the course. Like I'll always look at stats from PGA Tour averages, and I'll say, here's a reference for what the best players in the world are doing on a week-to-week basis, and most players really overestimate like how close they're hitting it to the hole from a certain distance, especially like 100 yards in. So I think it's having realistic expectations on what you should be doing on the course, and then working to improve and get those stats better. I think that will keep you sane.
Absolutely. How important is confidence, and how can you go about building it?
I think you build confidence through the process that you follow. So it's kind of like studying for a test. If you're jamming and cramming the night before, but you haven't really done much up until that point, it can be kind of pretty stressful and elevate your anxiety. So I think if you have a good solid program from day to day, and you're following that and you're focused with it, then it can take away a lot of that anxiety and help with the mental side of things.
How important is it to have patience throughout the game?
Kind of going back to what I said with the other question with having realistic expectations and kind of knowing when opportunities arise and where you stand in certain situations. You can be more or less aggressive based on the situation. I think that can really help kind of carry things through as you're going throughout the course of the round.
Yeah. If you could go back specifically and coach your younger self, what advice would you give?
Oh, geez. I don't know, I used to always get frustrated because I was playing and practicing so much and maybe not always having the best round. So I think it's like you're not always going to have your best day. So it's just, again, having that process to follow, and like if you're making changes, just kind of focus on that process and be super focused on it. I think that really helps.
Some people say they're a scratch range golfer. How can players take what they do on the range and translate it onto the course?
I think the biggest thing you can do is not get into block practicing all the time. So it's, if you go from block practicing would be hitting 27 irons at the same target, try to randomize your activity on the range. So you'll go from maybe driver, even kind of like play the course on the range, go at different targets, different distances, different clubs. Take some time in between shots. I think that's more realistic. It's easy to get into a bit of a groove when you're on the range and hitting the same club all the time.
Yeah. What's the importance to you of a pre-shot routine?
I think it's just important to be consistent with it. So it's if you're watching on TV, you'll see as soon as they go through a bit of their process, they're always the same from the moment they're reading a putt to the moment they stroke the putt. They may take more or less time reading the greens and things like that. But you see players that are just not making mistakes. I think they're really consistent, especially under pressure when they're sticking with a routine and being super repetitive and consistent with it.
Yeah. A lot of young golfers struggle with playing in front of a crowd or high competition. What's one way you go about handling that pressure?
Get into uncomfortable situations as much as you can. I think if you can get into a situation where you'll have a little bit of failure, I think that's important. Like having a competitive environment where you've got other kids your age that are or older that you're competing against and that you sometimes lose. I think that's something that's really really important in developing and getting comfortable being uncomfortable. So I think that's the easiest way to help manage that stress.
Yeah. What's the importance of visualization in golf?
Visualization. So I think every player is a little bit different. Other players are really mechanical, or they'll feel. But if you're able to visualize a shot, I think that makes it a lot easier to help pull it off or helping to feel a shot. I think it's in your mind, if you can move that way, then it's going to make it a bit more likely that you're gonna pull that shot off.
Who's the most mentally tough golfer you've watched play, played with, or taught, and what made them special?
I mean, one that sticks in my mind was the first time I saw Tiger. We used to go to Akron for the World Golf Championships, and so he would walk off the green, and there would be rows and rows of people from the green to tee, and he didn't make eye contact with anyone. It was just that level of focus when he was on the course was something I don't think I'll ever forget. I don't think most people are like that. And I think beyond that, it's like a lot of college players that I've seen and transition to pros. They're managing misses much more readily, and they're able to get up and down when they do miss. So they're never really putting themselves in bad positions. I think those players end up doing better in the long run.
Last one. If you had to give one piece of advice to golfers struggling with the mental side of the game, what would it be?
I would find someone that's really qualified in coaching just different aspects of the game, how to handle stress, problems in life. I think golf's really kind of a metaphor and analogy for life in that sense. So anything outside that you're bringing into the game can impact how you're playing, and vice versa. So it's just find someone that you can trust and talk to, that knows what they're talking about, and can help you through navigating that emotion, that stress.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.